Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to get a chance to share with you tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun. My hope is to make money a fun conversation, which is going to be different than probably what you're used to. And so my name is James Lenhoff. I'm a certified financial planner. I was in the industry for 23 years and helped thousands and thousands of families through all of their different things that they faced with money. I am really interested mostly in helping people find a place of peace, just a steadiness, a confidence when it comes to money. And so that's really what we're mostly focused on, is understanding what we're facing and finding confidence in the middle of it. Okay, so that's going to be the theme that's going to run through all of what we talk about. But one of the things that I want to make sure you know right away is I know where I am, or at least I think I know where I am in this stuff. So please, by any time you have a question, anything that you're like, I don't understand that part, that didn't make sense to me, say it again, or tell me more about that because that actually applies to me, but I'm really confused. Please don't hold that in. I can stop, we can address those things, and we can keep moving. But this is going to be an energetic thing. This is going to be an interactive thing. You are actually also going to spend some time with some of the coaches that are in here. We're going to give you very specific, hands-on, one-on-one direction. Okay? So, I'm not going to bother with any more introductions. I'm going to go straight into what we're dealing with. Here's what we're really trying to accomplish. What we are most interested in is getting people to a place where we understand the financial world, understand how it impacts us, and we can get to a place of confidence around our net worth. We're going to talk about what a net worth is, what that word means, but we tend to think a lot of times in money just in terms of I have a dollar in my pocket, I do something with that dollar. We need to think bigger about how do we get to a place of stability and strength when it comes to overall finances. And so we're actually wanting to get to a place where you all have a sense of confidence around what it means to build a financial foundation and actually what steps it looks like to apply each dollar that you get in a wise and thoughtful way. We're also going to want to define your reality. This is one of the biggest issues that I have seen over the years as I've helped people with their financial resources is they don't really know what's happening. They think they do, they kind of have an idea, they don't track it super close, they don't really know what's going in and out, and so they start to make changes on things without even really knowing what their reality is. And so the overall goal is that we actually get to a place where you know exactly what your reality is, you know exactly what you're facing, and through one-on-one coaching with the coaches, you know exactly what to do next. You have really clear action steps. We talk in money conversations in big, broad brushes, and that makes it really hard to apply. And we're actually going to take it down to very specific action steps that are unique to you. So here's how we're going to do that. First is we're going to talk this week about defining your reality. Understanding it is next, but first we need to define it. What is it? What are we dealing with? How does money work in your household right now? Next week, we're going to talk about understanding it. How did this get to these places? How are the patterns that are influencing how we landed here? And what actually might need to change? Because one of the things that we do, like I said earlier, is we'll change things before we understand them, and then we actually don't fix anything because it doesn't actually work. And so we need to first define it, then understand it, then we start to actually set priorities. One of the things we like to talk about is we're going to give you 3 things to do. If we give you 33 things, you won't do any of them. But if you give you your next 3 steps, you'll actually do those next 3 steps, and then we'll keep working on what's next. What's the next 3 steps? So we want to give you really clear and easy to digest priorities, and then you actually go about the work of changing your reality. We don't start with changing it. We have to first understand it, then we can actually set priorities, and then we change it in a way that's more thoughtful. So here are basically some of the main strategies. We're really wanting to get to where we can repeatedly create a positive cash flow. We're going to talk about what that means tonight. We're also going to focus on making sure that we don't make new issues in our credit report history. So we're going to keep current bills current as our priority, not chase our tail trying to pay off or make up for past due things that are in the past that have gone to collections, things like that. We don't want to keep filling in the gaps of past mistakes and as a result, make new ones. We don't want to be in a situation where because we're chasing this collection and trying to get this guy to stop calling us, we end up letting this bill go 90 days late and we start the cycle over again. We're going to really focus on current things current. That's our highest priority. We want to get to a place where you're on a track to save for an emergency. We don't want to be knocked completely off kilter the next time the car needs brakes or the next time some unforeseen expense comes up. We want to make sure we actually have a plan to get to a place where there is some level of cushion in our overall financial situation so that we can absorb those shocks and it doesn't wreck us, right? And then lastly, and also equally importantly, we're going to talk about, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see that? Am I in your way?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. Oh, you've got it on there too. Okay, perfect. Thanks. We want to talk about what it looks like to improve your credit score. We're going to talk about your credit report, and you're going to understand it in a way that will blow your mind because it is so backwards and it's so dumb the way that it works, and I hate it. I hate everything about it, but we still have to work within it. And so a lot of the things that we think are helpful to our credit score actually don't matter. They don't help. And so we're going to teach you exactly what it looks like to get your credit score back in line or start on a path towards growing it. We're actually not going to do that through your score, though. We're going to do it through your report. Do you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your pen. I got. Please stop me. I talk fast. Improving your credit score is really, really critical, particularly in the world we live in. Everything we do involves a credit score. You go get a cell phone, they pull your credit. You want to get a new apartment, they pull your credit. Everybody is pulling this report, and if we don't understand how it works, we won't be able to succeed in a system that relies so heavily on it. All right, so that's what we're going to cover in all of these different things. Here's the expectation for you guys. First, all 4 classes. It's 4 weeks. Be here each week. We are going to dive deep. We're going to do some work. This is not a class that is just lecture, although so far it feels that way. We are going to be doing a lot of actual workshopping. You're going to be doing the work here. And so we need you here to keep making progress. And so the coaches will be helping you as you work through some of these things if you have individual questions, but you need to be here so we can work through each of these steps in a meaningful way for you specifically. Be on time. I recognize this is a really hard time to get with weather and traffic and all the fun things, but to the best of your ability, be here right when we start at 6:30. In the class part of the conversation, ask questions that are specific to the higher level discussion that we're having. So I don't want, while we're in the conversation and I'm teaching, I don't want you to say, hey, my situation is blah, 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 and we go on a long history of an apartment that you were at or a ex-boyfriend that blew you up. I understand there's a lot of that stuff, but we need to talk at high levels in the class. We want to ask specific personal questions in the coaching context. So how do I do this? Or here's what is specific to me. That is what the coaches are here for. That's why they're part of the class. So hold those things, but please ask high-level questions, clarifications, more detail on things. Fire them at me. I can handle that. And then lastly, be open to learning new things. Here's the challenge with money. Money is an experiential thing. We think it's mathematical. We think it's just math. But it is actually more of a relational kind of experience. We have a lot of emotion around it. We have a lot of patterns that we get stuck in. We also have a lot of things that we were taught by our families. And it's like, well, this is just what we do. Well, be open to doing something different, right? Be open to ideas that might be different than what you're used to or the way that you think about things, because that's where change can happen. If we close it off because it's not familiar, we won't actually be able to grow. All right. This is this week. This week, we're going to talk about defining your reality. And what that looks like is first understanding where we fit in the global money reality. What does it look like for the vast majority of people on this planet? Then we're going to talk about your personal money reality. We're actually going to dive into the work of starting to map out what you're actually dealing with. We're going to talk about the real purpose of budgeting. Budgeting is a 4-letter word. Most people hate it, and I don't blame you. I'm actually going to tell you why budgets are generally dysfunctional and how we can actually fix that so that we can use them to our advantage. Just a precursor, the way that I always say it, budgets are almost always made for the wrong reason at the wrong time and with the wrong numbers. But other than that, they're great, right? They're made for the wrong reason because I just want to convince myself I can afford this thing I've already decided I'm buying, right? So I only do a budget when I need to prove to myself that the money is there. And then I use the wrong numbers. If I only spend $3 a month on groceries, I can afford this car that I've already decided I'm buying, right? So I do it for the wrong reason at the wrong time. I'm really excited about the car and with the wrong numbers. We need to do it when we're not emotionally charged and we're trying to reach for something. We just need to do this work when we're not in this scramble to try to convince ourselves that we want to do something and we can justify it. So that's what we need to do in our budgeting work. And then lastly, we're going to touch on the idea that you are a financial role model. You are an opportunity to change patterns, to shift generations. And if you really take that mantle, what happens for your family, for your neighbors, for your kids, can generationally change all of their patterns and move them in a completely different direction. And so you have an opportunity to be the shifting point in your family story. And we really want to take that on and own that. All right. Any questions so far? Let me back that up before I say that.
I just wanted to ask, are you going to cover anything like the new money, like Bitcoin and all that?
We can absolutely have a conversation about that. I have space at the end for Q&A, and so we can talk cryptocurrency and things like that are outside of the normal piece. So we can do that in the Q&A piece.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Any other questions so far? Okay. So before I show you what's on this slide, this is a question I love asking for those of you who might be familiar with what you think the Bible says about money. Does anybody have an idea of what the Bible says about money? What would you say is the common understanding of what the Bible says about money? Does anybody have any thought?
Root of all evil.
Money is the root of all evil. That's what it is. Daggone it. That money, ooh, we hate it. It's evil. Money is the root of all evil is the common answer that I get when I ask this question. What does the Bible say about money? That is not actually what it says. But the problem is we think that's what it says. And if you are in a context where you have believed that money is evil, then you have two choices. One, you either hate it, you blame it, you say it's the problem because you know it is the root of all evil. So it's the reason why I have any issues, or it's the problem that is causing all of my pain. It's the evil thing. But what the Bible actually says in that verse is 1 Timothy 6:10. It says the love of money is a root to all kinds of evil. It is not actually money. Money is neutral. Money is just a thing. It's our love of it. It's our desire for safety, security, confidence, status. It's what it gives us, and how addicted we get to what it gives us. That's actually what is evil. That's what causes us down the path, or puts us down the path of selfishness, self-indulgence, and making decisions that are mostly rooted in not delaying gratification, instant gratification. But what the Bible does tell us is that God created everything. It tells us that God owns everything. And what we want to think about, this is a very short section of this conversation, but it's really important. One of the things that is really difficult in our culture is we live in a culture that is rooted in ownership. That's mine, I did it, I deserve it, I built it, I get to keep it, I get to do whatever I want with it. That is a very common theme in our U.S. society. The problem with that is it means that we then lose all sense of responsibility for it. Because if I did it and I created it and I built it, then I have total authority over whatever I want to do, and no one can challenge me, no one can question me, no one can ask me, what did you do with those resources? It's none of your business. But if God owns everything, if the breath in your lungs is His, if the skills that He gave you for His kingdom and for His glory are His, if the resources in your pocket are His, then we owe a sense of responsibility back to Him. We owe a sense of management. And so what we like to think of is that we are faithful stewards. Our job is to steward these resources. And if we are a steward, not an owner, then that means we actually do owe the owner an accounting. What did you do with his stuff? And this isn't just money related, although that's where we're going to dive in most today and through this course. This is actually, I would argue, everything. What did you do with your time? Because it's His. What did you do with your skills? Because they're His. What did you do with the breath in your lungs? It's His. What are you doing with His stuff? But particularly when it comes to money, the ownership mindset means I don't owe anyone an explanation. I don't owe anyone any kind of description. I don't even need to track it. I'm not responsible to anyone with it. I just get to do whatever I want. And most of our money problems are rooted in that sense of entitlement. That's what we need to break. We are stewards. And so we do need to track these things because the owner it's a reasonable expectation for him to know, what did we do? The parable of the talents, quick summary. I don't know if you guys have heard the parable of the talents story. Jesus tells this story. And he says, the master comes in and he gives his servants resources. And he goes away. And he comes back. And there's 3 servants. One gets 5, one gets 2, and one gets 1 of these talents, these things think of bags of money. And when he comes back, he asks the 3 servants, what did you do with my stuff? And one took the 5 and doubled it, made it 10. And he says, awesome, great job. The 2 took the 2 and doubled it. And he says, fantastic. Does anybody remember what happens to the one that had 1? Does anybody know the story? 1 talent. What did he do with it? Buried it in the sand. Didn't do anything with it. Buried it. It does not go well for him. The master is not happy. He is not happy. And it gives us 2 thoughts that I think are really critical to understanding stewardship. One, the owner of the resources is expecting multiplication. He wants you to do something with what he's given you, not just financial resources, but your skills, your talents, your effort, your strength. We are to honor him with those things. So he's expecting multiplication. The second thing is also really important, and that is when it got doubled, it was all still his. The servants didn't say, hey, I did a great job, I doubled it. I'll give you 10%. I'll keep 90 because I did such a great job. 100% of it is always his no matter how big it gets. And we need to hold on to that truth that as this thing starts to get better, as your situation improves, we can fall back into that sense of entitlement and say, whoa, I've made some great progress. I get to do whatever I want. No, as you're making progress, you are making progress. It's still his, all of it, no matter how big it gets. All right. Questions on any of that stuff? All right. Let's talk about the global reality. We're going to breeze through this really quick, but it's really important that we understand this. 1/2 of the world's population, which is about 4 billion people with a B, live on less than $5 a day, which is insane. To think of the level of incredibly scarce resources that they are living on. Most countries, particularly the ones that are in these types of deeply impoverished situations, don't have any social safety net. There are no assistance programs, there is no funding from the government, there's no ability to help feed and clothe and shelter people. They are stuck in a $5 a day world trying to just survive. And I've had the privilege of getting to go and do mission work in Haiti for several years. We haven't gone in a long time, unfortunately, since COVID, but watching these incredibly beautiful, amazing humans just try to scrape together enough resources to eat is deeply painful. But it's their reality, and it's the reality of a very large population on the planet. Our reality, in the United States, 2024's poverty level is equivalent to $21 a day. $31,200, this is 2024 numbers, we can update this for this year, but basically $31,000, call it a year for a family of 4, would be poverty line in the US, which is $21 a day. And we have social programs. So in addition to that poverty line, when you are at it or below it or near it or slightly above it, we have these different ways to account for and adjust for food and clothing and shelter. So I level set this, and I want to make sure really, really clear. I am not saying that whatever situation you are facing is easy or comfortable. Please hear me. I recognize the pain. I recognize the stress and the struggle and the anxiety. The poverty in America that we are wrestling with is not a comfortable poverty, but it is different because there actually still are resources there. And we need to honor those resources and use them wisely. And so one of the things that we really want to make sure we start with is just this sense of perspective. We can very quickly, in seasons of strain and financial difficulty and uncertainty, we can very quickly move to a place of hopelessness and despair. We can very quickly move to a place of self-loathing. We can say to ourselves, there's no way I can do this, I'm not capable, I'm not able, And it is incredibly helpful to just recognize the situation that you're in for what it actually is, and hope starts to rise. Like there might be some opportunity to make progress. There might be some ways to start to make some different decisions. But we tend to tell ourselves, this is the worst it could ever get, and there's no way to get better. And we really want to fight against that lie. So, here's a really interesting question. I'd love to just have you guys feed back to me. If our basic needs are met, and by basic needs, I'm speaking to just, we have some food, we have some shelter. Why do we continue to spend money? If we've kind of hit the target, like I'm clothed and I have food, why is there always more money that's needed? What is the thing that's driving that? You guys have any thoughts on that?
You want to treat yourself once in a while.
Great.
You work
Yes.
hard, so you need a treat.
That's exactly right. Yes. You're busting your butt, and daggone it, I deserve it. That's right. I love that. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I'm one who haven't treated myself lately, and I really want a steak dinner. I haven't had steak in forever.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I need to go get a steak.
Great, authentic answer, and I totally agree. That's great. Yeah. You had something?
Oh, I was gonna say I kind of term it like retail therapy. It's
Yes.
the release of dopamine, like
Yes.
even if like this is like a crazy example, but like there was a time when I didn't have like any money and anything, but I was trying to get this food stamps card. They had been sending me money every month, but I didn't have the card, and I realized there's times I go to the grocery store just to spend my food stamps to get some of that dopamine.
Yes.
Same way, even though it's a food assistance benefit,
Yep.
it gave me the same thing to go to
Still
the grocery
feel-
store
that's it.
and buy something I see off the shelf and,
That's it.
and have it, take it home, and be like,
Totally.
ooh, yeah, I got
Yes.
something for
I
myself.
got,
You know,
I got to spend. Yes.
fulfillment.
There is a dopamine hit to
Yeah.
the spending, like acquiring. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Other people's expectations, like, oh, you should, if you could afford this, you should get this.
Yes.
So,
Oh my gosh.
peer pressure.
Keeping up with the Joneses, right? Either that or even keeping up with my kids' expectations. Like they need to have this kind of clothes because their friends have that kind of clothes, and so I need to somehow provide that for them. That's right. Oh man. Well, we've got all this. You guys hit them all, but I'm just going to reiterate them. We're surrounded by messages that we need or we deserve. To your point earlier, I've earned it, I deserve it, and so daggone it, it doesn't matter that I don't have the money for it, I still am going to do it because I need it. This is what marketing companies are built on, is taking advantage of that particular hardwiring in us, the entitlement that we deserve. The other thing that is really interesting about this whole idea is there are entire companies who are built on proving to us that we need this thing. You can't live without this thing. Procter & Gamble here in Cincinnati. It's a great example. You guys have heard of the Swiffer, right? That's a P&G product. The entire company of P&G, and I am not bad-mouthing P&G, I just want to recognize, their job is to create a product that we have lived entirely without and then convince us we cannot live without it. We lived without a Swiffer our whole lives until a Swiffer happened, and now we need a Swiffer, right? You can't live without a Swiffer. You have to have a Swiffer. Those messages are so embedded in the way we interact with retail and with purchases. I need this. I can't live without this. Of course you can. You don't have it right now, and you're alive, right? Like, we convince ourselves. We have I'm sorry, what's your name? Tristan. Tristan brought up the idea of this makes us feel better, right? This dopamine hit. We get this numbing effect to pain when we get this offsetting hit of dopamine when we spend. The most important reason why we do this in the US in particular is because we can. Availability and accessibility of credit in the US is so overabundant. We have very different laws than a lot of countries that allow for people to rack up and run up insane levels of debt because they can always continue to delay that pain by making small incremental payments. And what happens is these companies then own those individuals. they take advantage of these top things by saying, hey, you know what? You don't need to worry about it. We'll just lend you the money at 23% interest. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Just buy the thing. And we go, oh, okay. And here's the problem. If we're honest, in this country, it hurts less to pay 23% interest on a credit card than it does to feel inadequate, insignificant, to feel like a failure, to feel uncomfortable. It hurts less. That's why we do it. It is so much easier to get that instant gratification and deal with the future issue. That's a future me problem. Well, we're going to talk about how that actually isn't true. All right. So let me give you this credit card example. So if I put $1,000 on a credit card, that's how much debt I have, and I pay $50 a month, and it's 20% interest, how long will it take me to pay that off? I have a Chick-fil-A gift card. Oh man, I was hoping there'd be a steak dinner in here for you somewhere. All right, whoever, I got a Kroger gift card. Maybe you could buy a steak. All right, so I got a Chick-fil-A gift card or Kroger gift card. You guys get to pick. Whoever gets closest. How long will it take me to pay this off at $50 a month, and how much will it cost? Yeah, what do you got?
24 months.
24 months, okay, and how much will it cost?
12.25.
Did you do the math right now, or did you see it ahead? Oh, it's in the friggin' notes, isn't it? Oh, this is the problem with giving them the slides. All right, what do you want?
What is it again? What's
Kroger or Chick-fil-A?
Kroger.
Kroger, there you go, bud.
Much gracias.
Yeah. Tristan is resourceful, and he looked ahead and read the notes. And dang it, I forgot that we gave them to you. Well played, my friend. You earned that Kroger gift card. That's awesome. 24 months. I love that he hit it on the nose, and I'm still like, how did you do that? Yeah, you're brilliant. Yeah. All right, so 24 months of paying $50 a month, and it costs an extra $225. So one of the things that's really fascinating is we will tell ourselves that's not a big deal. I mean, $225, I mean, it seems reasonable. I got to get the thing I wanted. But what we're mostly financing when we talk about credit card debt, people refer to it as consumer debt. When you hear that term, consumer debt, what we're really saying is we're buying consumption products. We're buying things that have no value, that have no resale value. By the time we're done paying this 24 months later, whatever the $1,000 was it's gone. It was food, it was clothes that we wore and threw away. It was an experience that we got to have, but it's done. We're done with it. There's nothing left. And yet we're still paying an extra $225 for something that's long been since thrown in the garbage. That's the cycle we get stuck in, and it perpetuates itself. So we're going to talk about this vacation idea. So if I have a goal of saving $100 a month to go on a vacation, we're going to go on a road trip down to Gatlinburg, let's say. It's $1,200 is the cost of the vacation, all right? My first option is to wait and save every month for a year and then have the money to go ahead and go on the vacation. Option two is that I buy the vacation with money I don't have. I put it on a credit card, and I get to go on the vacation right now. And I pay 20% interest, and I make $100 monthly payments. So it's the same cost to me, right? $100 this way versus $100 that way. And what ends up happening is over the course of that year, it takes me actually 14 months at $100 a month of payment. It takes me 14 months to pay it off, and it costs me $1,350. So basically, I pay an extra $150 to get to go on vacation right now. Now, here's the problem. I would argue many of us, maybe most of us, maybe even all of us in the room would be like, wait, $150 to get to go now? I mean, I think I'd pick that. That's not that bad. Seems reasonable. But if we do that every year, so here's our option. Option one, we wait, we save, we go again. So we have to, the first year of saving for $100 a month means we don't get to take that first year's vacation because we're saving for that whole first year. So we're going to get on the cycle, but it's going to take us a while. So we only get to take 19 vacations over 20 years, right? If we do it every year for 20 years, we get to take 19 vacations, and it costs us exactly $22,800 because that's how many times we're going at $1,200 a time. But option two, which is the one we just talked about, $150, not that big of a deal. But once we get on that treadmill and we keep creating this cycle, where we're buying the next thing before we have the money, and we're buying the next thing before we have the money. If we do that, we get to take 20 vacations because we get to go starting right now. But the same example, instead of $22,800, it costs us over $40,000. This is how this compounding starts to get ahead, and you can't recover from it. Because now we can't stop the cycle because we're on it, right? Over 20 years, we had one extra vacation, and that one extra vacation cost us $16,000. Credit card debt is sneaky. It's this slow burn that costs an incredible amount of money. So this is option one, we just pay for the thing. This is option two, this is how much interest we're adding over those 20 years. So think about, what could you do with $16,000 more in your pocket, right? That is what we're trading off in reality. What we think we're trading off is $150. We're like, I mean, come on, it's not that big of a deal. But once you get on that train, it just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding. I tell people, and this is such a cold-hearted way to say it, but it's really helpful to put in my brain to really make decisions that help me to kind of clarify how to think about debt. I tell people all the time, by the way, I'm not an anti-debt person. I think debt is neutral. Debt is fine. We don't need to hate it, just like we don't need to hate money. It's a neutral thing. It's just a question of, is it working for you or is it destroying you, right? But I say there's two types of people when we think about money. There's the people who understand the miracle of compounding interest, and this works for them. They earn compounding interest. And there's the people who don't understand how powerful compounding interest is, and they pay it. And the people who earn it are earning it from the people who pay it. That's how the math works, right? And so what we want to be is on the side that understands. These aren't small, insignificant costs. They are compounding effects that build very quickly, and we want to get ahead of it. Let's talk about debt being a hole. It's probably an easy way to think of it. Here's the thing. When you're in a hole, your first step to get out of the hole is to stop digging. We perpetually dig in the debt hole. We keep using new different cards and new ways and cash transfers to try to keep this thing spinning because we're still digging. What we've got to do is stop digging. So, we already kind of talked about this. Why are we still digging? Spending feels good. We think we have to was another thing we mentioned. So once we're on that cycle and we've paid for a thing that we couldn't afford, now we've got the experience of, oh, it wasn't that bad. And so now when my kids say, hey, we need these shoes or that shirt, and you bought it last time, now we feel a sense of obligation. We've established in our household that this is a level we can afford, even though we can't, and they don't know that. And so we have to keep going because now we're holding out this kind of life experience that we think we have to maintain. Exactly. We don't know how much we actually spend is another reason why we keep digging. If we aren't tracking things in a detailed way and understanding how these numbers are coming together, we will find that we continue to dig because we are actually spending more than we're taking in, but we don't know that. And so we just keep doing the things. We don't even pay attention to it because we don't even know how to understand it. One of the other things that happens is we will look at the payment rather than the total cost. And this is the ultimate gimmick that these marketing companies, it's only 5 easy payments of $199.99, right? I've never had an easy payment in my life, by the way. They always hurt. Doesn't matter how small they are. But we are looking at cash flow instead of the total costs. And when we experience life, all the way that we experience financial life is an incremental change. Like we're used to what we're doing right now. And we're not even aware of what we're sacrificing to do what we're doing right now, right? So it's the same thing when we talk about a job. Like, well, it's only one more night away. It's only one more weekend. It's only one more step. It's not that big of a deal. But we lose sight of the fact we're already working a tremendous number of nights and weekends. So that incremental sacrifice doesn't feel as big. But it's huge on top of what we're already giving up. Same thing is true on costs. I mean, it's only $50 a month more. We could probably figure it out. We can find a way to cut that much out of the budget. We can make this work. But when we stack 50 on 50 on 50 on 50, it becomes insurmountable, and we keep digging because we're stuck with these little payments that turn into giant numbers. And so we've got to make sure we understand what we're actually spending in order to make clear-headed decisions on whether or not we add those payments. And that's another thing. We ignore our reality. One of the most painful things that we're going to make you face is just the raw truth of your reality, which I know you're all are like, so we're not coming back next week. And I understand. I understand. But when we ignore reality, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse, right? We need to make sure we're actually facing the reality of what we actually experience so that we can start to understand what progress might look like. So, we're going to jump into that first step. We're actually going to start working on what your current reality is. And this is going to be a workshop where we're going to actually start putting numbers into pages. But first, let me explain what we're starting with. This is our cash flow model. When we talk about the word cash flow, all we're really saying is when you take your money in that you're earning, and then you subtract out whatever you're spending, your money out, that is your cash flow. Whatever that net number is. We want that number to be positive. We want to make sure that when we take what's coming in minus what's going out, what's left is a positive number. If it's not right now, that's okay. We just need to understand it. But if we don't even know if that's where we're at, then we're going to make decisions that are completely disconnected from reality. So we're going to start with money in. And you have a worksheet in there. And we're going to give you some time. And if you need some help with this, please, it's in your, sorry, let me show you. In the middle of your book, whoop, right there, this guy. You guys see all that? That top section is your monthly income. That's your income flow. And what I want to make sure we recognize, this is the mistake that we make a lot, and this is what we're going to correct in this class. We don't think of assistance that we're getting as income. One of the reasons why people struggle to understand their reality, particularly when that reality is augmented by SNAP or rent assistance or any other types of cash assistance, whatever else might be coming in, because we don't think of that as earned income, we then go to the spending and we say, like if I talk to somebody who's in a situation where they're getting food assistance, I'll ask them, so what do you spend on groceries? And they'll say, after my SNAP benefit, I spend like $180. And I'm like, that's not what you spend on groceries. You spend $180 plus your SNAP benefit, right? So we need to start by putting the SNAP benefit in our income. Does that make sense? So if you're getting any kind of rental assistance or you're getting any kind of cash assistance, put that in the top. In addition to your income that you're getting from your wages, or if you're on Social Security or whatever the case may be, we want to just capture those inflows, whether they're actually coming from a paycheck or they're coming from a government assistance program. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. We need to know what they are. Does that make sense? So we're going to give you a few minutes. If you have questions or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
So wages after taxes, you're talking
Yes.
about what the
Net income,
net
yes.
income is
That's right.
per check.
That's
And
right.
The other question I have is, what if I have like a flexible income? So sometimes
Yes.
I work 16 hours a week.
Great question.
Sometimes I work 30
Yes.
hours a week.
Yes.
How do I put that in there?
We want to average roughly what you should expect, but only if it is pretty consistent. If you are all over the map, I actually would say let's aim on the low end. What's your worst month? So we can start to map towards that, so we know what we're really dealing with in our worst months. But if it's like, it varies, but through a month it's pretty consistent. It's like, then pick that number. But if it's really inconsistent and it's hard to map, I would map towards that low end to make sure that we're looking at the worst case scenario. And on the other question, remind me again, the net.
The net.
Yes, we're looking at net income. Did I cover those?
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay, great. Thank you for calling that out. Any other questions on any of that stuff?
Just
Yeah.
a real quick
Yeah.
comment that
Yes.
sometimes creates confusion. When you have Social Security income,
Yes.
frequently they're pulling your, if you have Medicare and Social Security income, they're
Right.
pulling that 185 to go to 185 out of your Social Security.
Yep.
So that's, when you get down to where the.
Medical
health
insurance, right.
is,
Yep. Yep.
You know, I think the easiest way, I think, is to put the, your Social Security gross,
Yep.
less the 15% or
Yep.
taxes.
That's right.
And then put the health, put your 185 in your health insurance.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, we don't want to double count expenses.
Yeah, that's,
So either take it out of the top or take it out of the bottom, but don't take it out in both. Yeah, right. Yep. All right. And there's calculators on your table if you need to do some averaging or add some things up, but go ahead and do that. And if you have any questions, just kind of raise your hand and a coach will come and help you with anything that you need, okay? So we're going to go ahead and jump ahead because you're already there. I can't stop you. Once we're in the mode, man, we want to fill in the worksheet. It's like, ooh, homework. Like, let's go. All right. So next we're going to talk about needs. We do this intentionally because a lot of times we muddy these waters and then we think that we don't have enough. And so we want to isolate the needs. Now, there's other words for this, but I think needs is the easiest thing. Some people call them fixed expenses, but the problem is they're not actually fixed. Some of them vary. Some of them are all over the place, like your gas bill is going to go up or down, or your grocery bill is going to go up or down depending on how many days you eat. So what we really want to think is actually more necessary. These are the things I can't live without. I have to spend this money. So you'll see those categories: rent, utilities, insurance, groceries. And again, we want to include in the groceries, if you are getting a SNAP benefit, we want that SNAP benefit in there as part of the cost because we put it in up top as part of the income, right? So if you're getting, as an example, $400 worth of a SNAP benefit and you put it up here in the income, but then you only put your net expense of $200 on groceries down here, it's going to mess the math up. Right? So what do you total spend on groceries, including that SNAP benefit? Childcare, things like that. So these are must pays. We don't have a choice. We have to do them. And as you guys go in there, this is where we'll get a lot of questions. So please, again, raise your hand. The coaches are all ready. They'll come around and they'll answer them. But ideally, what we want to do is get to where we know what these monthly spends are. If you are paying things that are quarterly, like if your car insurance is only every 3 months, or you are doing things on a rotation, just divide by 3, turn it into a monthly number. Even though it's not coming out every month, we still want to plan on it on a monthly basis. Does that make sense? Any questions on that part?
Say that last part again.
So let's say, for example, you're paying like your car insurance on it every 90 days.
Yeah.
Well, we want to then divide that by 3 and put it in a monthly, even though we're only paying it every 3 months. We still want to budget for it. You got it. So that money's there when it's time. Yep. Okay. All right. Get after that. And then we're gonna when you get done with that, you're gonna total up those fixed expenses, those needs. What's our absolute bare minimum? No matter what, I got to spend this much money. And then we'll switch. Don't jump ahead. We'll switch to the wants next. I want to talk through that a little bit before you jump too far into it. Okay. All right. So fill those in. Raise your hand if you need any help. If you're like, yeah, I spend between, $200 and $250 a month on gas, well then pick $250, right? Let's give ourselves more. No one is ever mad at me because they had more money than they thought they would. Turns out that's not really a problem. The less money than they thought they would is the one we're trying to get ahead of. So yeah, aim on the high side. Utilities range all over the place depending on the weather. So again, be up in that higher space when you're budgeting so that you know you've got enough if it is a high bill. Great question. Down to that bottom one that you guys probably already did because you're all overachievers.
Yeah.
Just jumping through it. Man, I'm telling you, once we turn you loose, numbers just start flying. I love it. All right, so let's talk about the wants section because I think this is where a lot of times we get confused. We think these are needs. It's not necessarily that there aren't things in here that aren't at times necessary. But when we are spending on them month in, month out, we end up in situations where we believe that it's just required. So clothing, for example. We don't need to spend X amount of money on clothes every month. We just do, right? Because retail therapy, right? Feels good. Feels good. Target has a sale.
Feeling down,
Sales,
go
man.
buy
Yeah,
something.
we're like, oh man, it's 30% off. Did you need it? No, but it was 30% off, so I bought it anyway, right? So those are the kinds of things we get stuck in, and then we believe that we have to do it, or that it becomes a need. So we want to really clarify what we are spending on wants, not what we could spend, okay? So if you are spending $250 a month on clothes, I want you to put that in there. I don't want you to say, well, I don't need that, so I'll make that zero, because it's probably not going to be zero. We want to actually understand reality. What are you currently spending? Really, really, really. And so fill this in with the current numbers, not what you hoped they would be, okay? One of the things that this is, there is a little blank space there where we're kind of like, hey, if there's other things we forgot about, use all of that. And then what we're going to want to do is add all of those. You'll see the green box, that A. The B is your fixed or necessary expenses. We want to add up just that section of need and put that in the red box. And then the wants are that C. We want to add just the wants up and put that in that box. So we're not totaling all the way down. We're just trying to isolate what is your needs and what are you spending on wants. Because one of the things that we're going to be able to do then is start to isolate, are there wants we can start to sacrifice in order to start finding room to make sure we cover our needs, if that's something we need to do. Okay? All right. So fire through that if you haven't already. And again, ask any questions that you run up against. So for some of you, this is kind of maybe an exercise you're familiar with. You're like, yeah, I know these numbers like the back of my hand. For some of you, this is like oh no, I've not looked at this way before. One of the ways I actually want you to think about it, and again, the reason why we isolate those needs and wants, we have you calculate your cash flow on that next page, but what I would also encourage you to do is calculate like that minimum excess cash flow. So if we take that money in, that green line, and we just subtract that first need line, that B line, what are we really dealing with that we got to fit our wants within? That's a helpful calculation. Because if you can show yourself, hey, my income is enough to cover my needs, that is a really helpful truth for you to grab a hold of. If you can't show that, if you're like, man, my income isn't even going to cover my needs, now we can recognize, and this is really important, we don't actually have a spending problem. We have an income problem, right? We can't cut enough out of this category to make the math work. A lot of times people assume when we're talking about cash flow that they have a spending problem. If I just cut enough out of my spending, I'll be okay. But if we isolate that need and compare that to our income, we may find out there isn't cutting that'll get you to where you need to be. The only rock you can move is the income rock in order to actually make your math work. And that's really helpful information. Because one of the things I can tell you is if the only way that we think we can get there is if we never have fun, we never have a steak dinner, we never enjoy life, then we'll be okay. I'm going to tell you that's not actually a real option. I don't think it's realistic that we're never going to have pizza and we're never going to actually watch a movie and we're never going to go out with friends and enjoy friendships. Like, that's not a life we want to lead. So we need to understand this stuff so that we can recognize and have confidence. I can make this math work, but I got to start putting some boundaries and some restrictions on it to fit within the box that I have. Or I got to make my box bigger. I got to get more income. Okay, so that's what this exercise is really trying to show us. This is why it's important for you to define your reality before you start changing it. Because if we're over here saying, well, I'll never buy a coffee from a coffee shop ever again in my life, but this math doesn't work, it doesn't matter, right? Until we really understand what we're facing, we may be changing things and then not being able to understand why it's not fixing it, because that's not actually the problem. The problem might be over here. The problem might be your income. So we're going to do that. So you probably already did the math on the cash flow. And so now let's talk about how do we change cash flow. So you did the math, and hopefully it was a positive number. Certainly, hopefully it was a positive number over the first need category, but when you combine everything, what's left, if it's a positive number, we're in really good shape. But there are only two ways. The only two ways that we can actually change this reality. One is we increase our money in, and the other is we decrease our money out. And so what we got to figure out is which of these actually is our priority, right? If we increase money in, there's only so many ways you can do this. You get a second job. One of the things, and we just talked about this, when we add income as the solution to that money in change, you need to be really aware of how quickly and suddenly you'll get kicked off of these government subsidies. They are not designed to transition. They just literally knock the table out from under you. There is no ease in, there's no preparation. It's you have it and then you don't have it. And I can't tell you how many times, because people haven't done this work, they will just earn more money, but they think they only did that second part without the full costs, right? So they weren't looking at their actual rent, they were looking at their subsidized rent. And their math works as long as they get the subsidized rent. But as soon as their real rent kicks in because they didn't put the subsidy up in the income, they're like, what the heck, I'm in trouble. Yeah, that's why we got to think of it this way. The subsidies go in the income and then the real cost of your life goes in the bottom, so that we actually know, what do I need to make on that top line if I take the subsidies away in order to make the bottom lines work. One of the ways, like I've worked as a financial planner, I worked with a lot of people that had a lot of money, and I will tell you, I would sit across the table from people, and sometimes they would have these conversations where they would say something like, well, those people, which I just was ready to strangle them. Those people, they just need to get a job, they just need to work harder, they just need to make more money. I'm gonna get all, whew. All right. I'm like, hey, have you ever sat across the table from one of those people? Because what you will find is they are incredibly brilliant and incredibly talented and unbelievably beautiful. And they are facing a decision that if they make $50, it's taxed at 350% effectively, because they lose that much benefit. Would you earn that next $50? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, neither are they. It's not because they're stupid. They're doing the same thing you would do. Get out of the way. Like, stop thinking. Oh, I get, sorry. I get so angry at the assumptions. You're making rational decisions in a system that is designed to keep you stuck in it. Let's just face reality. So if you get that second job and that income goes up, you're losing this stuff, and we got to be ready for that. We got to be prepared for it, because I got to tell you, it's the path to confidence and stability and having your own freedom to make decisions without being subject to whatever their rules are and when they change.
Or whatever this little bit of money that they give you every
That's right.
month if you get on,
But when it's that big of a difference, when that next $50 causes a 350% increase in your rent, why would you ever make that next $50? Like, I get it. It makes sense. But it is the path. We need to increase that income. Sorry, I get super passionate about that. I rage at people when they say those kinds of things. Anyway, whew. All right, coming back down. Increase your household member contributions. So if you are sharing a home, you've got grown kids that have moved back in with you, you've got situations where there are opportunities where people could actually foot some of these bills. They could contribute to the needs of the total of the family. That's really important to consider. I will also argue that if you are in that situation and you have someone who is dependent on you unnecessarily, one of the worst things we can do is hide our reality from them. Just, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's not fine. Be honest about where you really are and what's really going to happen, because all of you could be in trouble if something goes sideways and you get kicked out. So this is a team effort. We got to make sure we're really paying attention to that. So if you have a roommate or you have somebody that's kind of crashing, we got to make sure we're asking them to pay some portion of those things. Side hustles and gig economy, I'm telling you, this is a great opportunity. You mentioned Instacart. This is an economy where you can go find really quick income, and there is a ton of demand for that kind of work. It's really hard work. Just, there is not a lot of leisure in those jobs. You are cranking and you are delivering and you are got to be at the next one, and it is heavy lifting, but it is actually pretty heavy pay too. And so if you're in a situation where adding that income won't blow up your subsidies, gig economy is a great place to look. Really, really solid. All right. Now we're going to talk about how do we actually get out, monitor and decrease our money out. One of the things that I want us to think about is not a budget, which feels really confusing. We use that word all the time, budget, budget, budget. What we actually want to think of is a spending plan. And you're like, that sounds like a budget. And I'm like, yep, that's right. I hear you. You're probably right. But here's the way I want to think about it. A budget is restrictive. If I never, ever, ever do anything I enjoy, then I'll celebrate that? Is that what we're going to do? Like, really? Like, you can go on a diet and you can eat grape skins and Triscuits, but only for so long, right? And then you're having the steak dinner. Come on, right? Like, we're going to binge if we keep doing these restrictive focused budgets. Spend as little as possible, and then we get the message that we talked about earlier, I deserve it. I've earned it. And we binge. We go big, right? And we blow everything up. So what we want to be doing is thinking in terms of a spending plan, which is I will spend money. I will spend money on this thing and this thing and this thing, but I've decided ahead of time how much I will spend. And it's not that I'm restricting myself. So if we get to the end of the month and my wife and I are looking at each other and we're like, hey, we never ate out, high five. I'm like, I am not high fiving you. That is not the life we said we wanted to live. We said we were going to eat out as a family once a week, or whatever we decided, right? Whatever we decided that is, as long as it fits within the spending plan, we are not going to celebrate that we didn't do the thing we said we were going to do. We're going to spend money on fun. We're going to spend money on delight. But it needs to fit within the plan. And once we've built that spending plan, then when we spend, we have no guilt, we have no shame, we don't feel this overwhelm of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. We've planned for it. And now we celebrate that we did what we said we're going to do, rather than we celebrate that we didn't do what we said we're going to do. Does that make sense? It feels semantic. It feels like that's not that different. It changes everything. When what we're really trying to do is restrict and deny, versus what we're actually doing is intentionally spend like we said we would, game changer. That's why everybody hates budgets, because we always think of them as don't ever, ever, ever. And so eventually it's like, screw that thing, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to spend the money I want to spend. Spending plan is key. All right, so this is, oh, here we go. I already have this. I didn't know I had this, okay. So, cram ourselves in an unrealistic box. One of the things that I find so frustrating about budgeting is people will convince themselves, I can spend only this much. But if it's not related to actual spending, then we are making numbers out of thin air. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do is go back. I know we took a rough draft of your spending, of your overall spending plan here. One of the things we will do is give you more sheets in the back. You'll see we have lots of extra blanks of those things. Go back and pull bank statements, pull credit card statements, pull debit cards. Like, what did you spend on? Let's actually get the real numbers. These were guesses, and they're a good start. But we need reality. And we're not going to judge it. We're not going to argue with ourselves about it. We're just going to put it down. We spent $200 on pizza last month. That might be a place we could make some changes. But we're not going to argue about it. We're not going to judge ourselves. We're just going to acknowledge it. Oh, that's reality. Rather than saying over here, I could never spend money on eating out or having fun ever and my math works. That's not true. We need to know what we're actually spending, and then we can start to change the things that we actually understand. All right. Seek first, understand what you spend in each category. I'm saying all these things ahead of time. I need to click through these things better. Sorry. When you actually build the realistic spending plan, again, the gift that it gives you is a confident decision to spend. I mean, I can only imagine, because I feel that all the time. If I'm off or I'm not sure, it's like this, is this going to ruin me? Right? Like that, every moment is like that. Like, oh gosh, can I do this? Oh, this might be bad. I'm going to do it anyway because it feels good. But that dread is what we're trying to get rid of. I want you to get to a place where it's like, I can spend this. I planned on this. I'm doing what I said I was going to do. I cannot tell you how much more fun it is. It even makes the spending feel better because it doesn't come with the impending doom. It's a nice feature. Anyway, all right. Okay, one of the things we're doing for homework, we want you to kind of take another stab at that worksheet, but we actually also want you to track your spending. There is I believe there's a spending journal in that homework assignment section. Yes. Maybe. Did she put it in there? Did you see it? Maybe not. It's in the back? It says spending journal? Oh, there it is. There it is. Perfect. Cool. It's on the other side. That's what I was missing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's the back. Yes, the back of the homework page is a spending journal. This is where we want to start capturing what you spent. One of the things we're going to talk about as we go into these next weeks, I'm actually not with you next week. I'll be back the last 2 weeks. But next week we're going to start talking about ways that spending can sneak up on us, decisions that we make that actually cost us way more. So things like cash, right? Cash just kind of goes poof. And you're like, what do I do with it? I don't know. I didn't keep any receipts and I don't really pay attention. It just goes poof. We need to stop doing that, right? Another thing is we'll stop for gas and we'll go in and buy, a $4 Coke at the gas station when a whole 2 liter of Coke at Kroger costs $1.50 or whatever. So we're making decisions that are extra expensive because we're doing them out of convenience and in the moment. So what we need to do in order to make that next week the most profitable is for you to capture that. So for the next week, again, no judgment, no self-loathing, no I'm stupid or I did this wrong. Don't do that to yourself. Just write it down. What did you do? Where did it go? Because then when we start to talk about where those things are and where some of those opportunities are, you might be like, I did that on Tuesday, right? We want to start being able to recognize where some of those issues are in your own experience. So capture that journal. Yeah.
I was gonna say that what you just said kind of sparked like a memory of mine. Like when I actually do look at my bank statement, like when I look through the itemized,
Yep.
I'm like, what?
Yep.
Like I did all that? Like all these purchases, and you look at the
Yep.
amount I added to, and it's like, damn,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
What? Yeah, exactly. It's just it's this mindless thing that we do because it just feels good in the moment. That's right. Is it time?
$2.
Oh, apps. Yeah. Say it louder. Go.
So on your phone, how many apps did you sign up for that you don't realize?
Yes. Subscriptions.
You're spending
Yeah.
money on every month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just one more thing to check.
Totally.
Go to your actual spending.
Yeah, because they just pull it out.
Auto pay.
Yeah, man. Auto pays are brutal. Rocket Money. Yes, there is an app for the app problem. Isn't that right? Exactly. Go figure. There's an app to fix the app problem that the App Store created. Okay, cool. All right. We've got all these other things we've already kind of talked about, but one of the things that we really want to make sure we're using is actual numbers, not guesses. So we can start with guesses, but your job by the end of this course is to have actuals. One of the reasons why we make this a month is because in this month, if we do a really good job of tracking and understanding and writing things down and paying attention, we actually should have real numbers. And when we have real numbers that are probably a little different than what you captured here tonight, that's right, that's fine, then the changes that we make and the priorities that we set and the goals that we put in place are actually aimed at the reality that you're facing rather than the swag that you took in 1 week. We used to do this course in a very quick succession, like 2 weeks, just crank it through and just get everybody out. And what we realized is they're leaving with numbers that are totally wrong, still. By pushing it through a whole month, we actually give you an opportunity to journal and create reality that we can really understand together and make good changes. All right, last one. You're a financial role model. This is such a critical opportunity for you. You are being watched. You're being watched by your kids. You're being watched by your neighbors, your other family members. This whole space of money is such an incredibly emotional, difficult thing to navigate. And what behaviors you set in place will change your kids' future. If they watch you and they learn a different pattern from you. your neighbors who are in similar circumstances maybe than you are, and they're seeing you make progress that they've not been able to make. You can actually pass them the bread that you're getting here. You can actually show them how to actually pay attention to these things, how to understand their... Hey, wonderful. See? Boom. Look at that. Look at that. You are role models for each other. Fantastic. Look at you. You're already doing it. I love it. That's great. That's great. And the thing that a lot of times is actually really surprising is how you can be a role model to parents, other family members. You know, they see something in you when you change the way you're intentional about this. You're paying attention to it. You're giving it priority. They actually start to realize how they wish they would do that. But we've got to start moving in that direction in order for some of that momentum to happen. One of the things that is really, really hard is that the under-resourced cycle is perpetual. And we talked about the fact that the programs are designed to keep you on them. They are sticky. Because I think of it like, I don't know if you guys have heard of this term, but there's this idea called escape velocity, like a rocket that shoots off has to get to a certain point of speed in order to get out of the atmosphere. Otherwise, it just falls back down, gravity, right? We need to achieve escape velocity. We actually got to get to a place where we are getting more than enough in income to get the system to stop pulling us back down, because it's more powerful than gravity. It's constantly pulling back. And so the way that we break that cycle, and this is a really hard truth that I need you to hear, it may not actually be you that gets all the way off. And that's a hard truth. But man, if you start making progress, your kids might. Their kids might. Like if we break the pattern, they don't get stuck in it. That's what we're trying to aim for. It's possible that it's you. I am hopeful that it's you. But it's also possible that this is something you pass to the next generation, and it is the greatest gift you can give them. So don't look at this and say, this is just about me getting to a place of health and financial security, although it is. It's also about the generational impact that it has. And it is profound. All right, we talked homework. Use your bank account, statements, things like that. Verify that these cash flow sheet numbers that we put down are right. And then we want to track all of our spending this week somewhere. If you don't like that journal, there's not enough entries in it. I don't care. Take a blank piece of paper, put it in your phone notes. I don't care how you capture it. Just capture everything. Cash, swipes. I don't care how you're spending. SNAP benefit swipes. Like whatever it is, capture what you spend this week in all categories in every way. Okay? And then you got to bring it back. We'll give you a chance for a gift card. And I'm going to make sure that we don't make our gift cards based on future notes that are in the book that you can just...
This one I got from the email from Gino.
There you go. That's good. That's good. That's awesome.
That was on here.
We do have weekly gift card opportunities. We have opportunities for saving and debt payment matches. So part of what we've done with this program is we've tried to build it so that we can together identify what your biggest needs are and then partner with you in meeting those needs. And then we also obviously have weekly dinner and childcare. And so we have tried to set this up to give you every reason to come back, every reason to keep working at this, because we really believe this is life-changing stuff if you start to move in this direction. All right, next week, we will need you to bring, if you have it, or on your phone is fine, but we need to bring last month's bank cards, credit card statements, just the documents that show what you're, where you're at with just cash flow. You can talk to Gina if you need to get access to the computer lab to pull some of those things if you don't have access to them yourself. But if you bring them on your phone, that's fine too. We don't need them to be in paper copy. All right, so do we meet our objectives? We understand global money reality. We understand personal money reality, your personal cash flow. Understand the real purpose of budgeting, not this restrictive and self-denial, but actually intentionality. And you understand, hopefully, the weight that you carry as a role model for those around you. All right. Now we're in Q&A. We got a little bit of time, right? 8:30? Is that our time? Is it 8? Oh, we don't have much time. It's 5 minutes till 8. Shoot.
My email said 6:30 to 8.
8:30. That's what I thought too. I think we have some time.
8:15. Mine says 8:30.
Okay, well, here's what we'll do. Here's what we'll do. I am available to go to with whatever Q&A, whatever questions you have, whatever things you want to bring up. And if we get to a place where you're like, and I'm done, head on out. We'll see you next week.